Hello from Fabio Fortini. Welcome to Blockchain for Health. Here we go, first video where we'll talk about the applications that blockchain technology and DLTs, distributed ledger technology, have in the healthcare sector. But I won't be the one doing it. Instead, the very talented Greta Fortini will. I'll be back in the next video. Greta graduated some time ago from the University of Bologna in International Politics and Economics with a thesis on global challenges in public finance and health policies, that is, global challenges in public finance and health policies. The title of the thesis, for which I had the honor, privilege, and pleasure of being co-supervisor, was Blockchain. Technology and its applications for healthcare. Opportunities, challenges, and case studies, meaning blockchain technology and its applications in the healthcare sector. Opportunities, challenges, and case studies. So, it will be Greta herself who will give us an overview of this topic. In the meantime, if you're interested in these topics, subscribe to the Blockchain for Healthcare channel. And if you enjoy what you see, maybe give it a like as well. Thank you. At this point, let's listen to Greta and see you next time. Goodbye.
Hello everyone, I'm Greta, and today we're going to explore how distributed ledgers, especially blockchain technology, can be applied to the healthcare sector. So we'll look at the benefits that come from integrating blockchain into the world of health. And at the same time, we'll address the challenges that this technology will have to face in order to be efficiently used in this sector. A quick clarification, blockchains can be either public or private, but let's go into a bit more detail. The fundamental characteristics of a public or permissionless blockchain are in fact decentralization, that is, the sharing of a data ledger among multiple entities. Without the need for a central trusted authority, data traceability, immutability, and transparency are ensured. Essentially, once certain data have been validated and entered into the permissionless blockchain, they are accessible to anyone. They are therefore transparent, traceable, and cannot be deleted or altered in any way. In such a complex context as healthcare, characterized by multiple entities and highly sensitive personal data, the most pragmatic choice is to adopt a private or consortium blockchain. Unlike a public blockchain, which is open and accessible to anyone, a private blockchain is controlled and managed by one or more groups of privileged validators, such as consortium blockchains that involve two or more parties. In both cases, approval is required to access the information, and the nature of this privilege determines the degree of centralization. As we mentioned, the healthcare system is a very complex ecosystem that involves various entities, such as patients, hospitals, institutions, insurance agencies, companies, and many others. In the healthcare world, a huge amount of data is processed every day, so an effective method for recording this data is necessary. And this is where blockchain technology comes into play. So let's take a look at the first use case of blockchain technology in the healthcare sector. The first example can be found in the management of patients' medical records. Currently, the procedures for collecting and recording personal health data are significantly inefficient. In fact, this data is fragmented and scattered among different hospitals and private clinics, which leads to poor coordination between doctors and healthcare professionals, resulting in a negative impact on the quality of medical care. In this context, and thanks to its accessibility features, blockchain ensures that patients' medical records are easily available to the data owners. Similarly, this data can be divided and accessed by different hospitals and doctors, possibly even at an international level. To illustrate this situation, let's consider a concrete example. Imagine that someone is involved in an accident and is then admitted to the emergency room. What do the doctors need to do? So, in this case, the doctors will have to run tests and examinations to reconstruct the patient's medical history. They will need to look for previous illnesses, possible intolerances, allergies, and medications taken. This repetition of tests is necessary because there is no single centralized medical record that healthcare facilities can refer to. On the contrary, health data are fragmented and distributed among numerous databases that are often incompatible with each other. Let's suppose that health data are mapped onto a distributed ledger, where mapped does not necessarily mean entered, and in fact definitely not if we're talking about a public blockchain. First, because it is a scarce resource. Second, because the data are highly sensitive. In this way, a clinical history would gradually be created for each patient. A history that, based on the specific characteristics of the technology, could be considered accurate, secure, traceable, and historically recorded. And it would allow healthcare professionals to access high-quality medical information while enabling the patient to possess and authorize access to it. This blockchain-based health dossier would be constantly updated in real time. Every time new health data is added to the platform, ensuring that all involved healthcare facilities can consult it simultaneously. So, in summary, the integration of blockchain into the healthcare world would create an interconnected healthcare system that extends across public and private facilities, thus involving pharmacies, laboratories, hospitals, doctors, and insurance companies. This would lead to progressive interoperability, not only at the national level, but potentially on a global scale, and this would be incredibly valuable for scientific research. Among the best-known projects that involve the use of blockchain in this field are Medical Chain, My Health, My Data, and Trusted Chain. Now let's look at a second case of applying blockchain technology in the healthcare sector, focusing on the processes of clinical trials. This technology, much like what we've discussed so far, offers the opportunity to create a database in which the recorded information, such as the results of clinical studies, cannot be lost or tampered with. Here too, the data could therefore be certified, traceable, and shared among multiple interested parties. An interesting aspect in this context is also the use of smart contracts, which can be employed to manage the consent of participants in clinical trials. In fact, smart contracts automate and make contractual conditions transparent. In this way, they ensure that participants understand and accept the established provisions. This innovative application of blockchain in the clinical field therefore makes it possible to improve the efficiency, integrity, and security of medical research processes, thus ensuring a reliable and incorruptible flow of information. A final example of blockchain application in the healthcare context concerns the traceability of pharmaceuticals throughout the entire pharmaceutical supply chain. In fact, blockchain offers complete transparency and visibility in monitoring pharmaceuticals, and also in the statistical study of their effects, whether adverse or beneficial, right from their origin. This means that every stage of the production process, including detailed information such as quantity, batch, or expiration date, can be immutably recorded on the blockchain in a secure manner. In the same way, it is possible to track every commercial aspect of pharmaceutical products, such as, for example, from shipments to deliveries. This capability allows for monitoring every transaction related to a drug until it reaches the hands of the end consumer. Final. In practice, this means that we can be certain we are purchasing authentic products, verifying their legitimate origin, and thus helping to ensure the safety and effectiveness of pharmaceutical treatments. Among the initiatives that use blockchain in the pharmaceutical industry, we have PharmaTrust in 2DAF and PharmaTrust. But now let's look at the main challenges that could limit the implementation of blockchain in the healthcare sector. A significant initial obstacle could come from the lack of interoperability between different blockchain platforms. This means that applications developed by various providers on different platforms might not actually be able to communicate and interact with each other smoothly. Therefore, to solve this problem and thus ensure data integration and interoperability, healthcare organizations will need to develop a shared approach for storing medical data. Furthermore, the cost and investment required to build such an infrastructure should not be underestimated. Let's now move on to the second obstacle, which concerns the storage capacity of blockchains and their scalability. As we have mentioned so far, directly storing health data on the blockchain ensures the security of the information and immediate access for those who are authorized to access it. However, storing large amounts of data, such as laboratory tests, X-rays, or MRI images, could put a significant strain on the storage capacity of the blockchain infrastructure. As a possible solution to this problem, one could consider storing the data in the cloud, that is, off-chain and outside the blockchain, while keeping only a cryptographic function on the blockchain that refers to the information. This approach also takes into account the provisions on the right to be forgotten under the General Data Protection Regulation, as it allows for the permanent deletion of the actual data. Therefore, only the hash function of the data is stored on the blockchain, which is thus immutable. This is to say that the immutability feature of the blockchain could actually be counterproductive when it is desirable to completely erase a patient's medical history. In summary, where does blockchain really make a difference? First, in ensuring data accessibility. Second, in guaranteeing its integrity. Finally, it should be noted that blockchain is still a relatively new technology and not widely known by the public. Its adoption, therefore, will require ongoing understanding and awareness to ensure proper implementation and effective use in the healthcare sector. Thank you for staying with us until now. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Bye!